Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm Solo, this is Craftopia, and today we're going over the Katana. There are a couple unique things about the Katana, so we're going to break this down into a few sections so that you can go back to any section later if you need to, those being stances, detect, and control. Okay, there are three stances to the Katana. The first one you have is the one you're in now, which is standby. This allows you to dodge, jump, use and equip items like normal. And, crouch and do all the normal basic things like that. Second stance. This is your ready stance. On PC, this is right click, so whatever that corresponds to if you're playing on console. In this stance, you have pros and cons. You can't be knocked down, but you also cannot move unless you sprint. This is the stance that you will launch most of your attacks from, that you'll want to use your abilities like EI slash and whatever the heck that one's called, lightning speed. You get benefits and bonuses for using them in that stance. The third stance is draw stance. That's when you have your katana out. This is, in my opinion, the most versatile stance because you can position to a lot of different positions from here. It also has the highest base attack damage, so if you swing normally, you'll do X amount of damage. And then if you use the quick attack feature, you can see that the damage is faster but a little bit slower. Or excuse me, a little bit lower. Alright, section 2, detect. TLDR. Time your parries to negate incoming damage and increase your own. Detect is a buff that does several things and has a couple different elements. It's essentially a parry. Detect, the little blue cloud you'll see occasionally surrounding Venus, will be activated whenever you perform any one of several moves within the Katana moveset. If you take any damage while Detect is activated, you will acquire one Detect buff. This buff can stack up to 6 times, at which point it will turn into this little blue egg stone looking thing. It's great. This buff will increase your melee damage by up to 15% at maximum according to the number of stacks you have. It will also extend your basic attack combo from 3 to 5 while also making you completely immune to damage so long as you continue to land consecutive hits following the detect. The Katana also has 2 built-in skills that are accessible when your detect stack reaches 4 or higher. At 4 stacks, the additional skill Single Thrust becomes available. At 6 stacks, the skill Swordplay becomes available. Both skills will consume 1 stack of detect to use. Alright, section 3, control. The biggest thing to know here is how to activate Single Thrust and Swordplay. And that's as soon as you have your stacks above 4. If you have 6 like I do right now, you activate it by pressing both attack buttons at the same time. That's it right there. If you have 5 or 4, you can do the same thing, and it will do a thrust like that. During both of those moves, just like with the rest of Detect, you are completely invulnerable to damage during that time. So do get attacked very easily. Go into that ready stance like that. Switching back and forth between that. Oh my god, sorry, it's so loud. Walking around like this and then switching back and forth. Like that, between the right click and the left click. Provides you with a pretty lengthy window to trigger detect. Okay, and then the last little bit here to finish off is we're gonna go over very simple outline for the skills, because obviously not everybody's gonna be max level, but you can start this very early on, like pre-level 5, 6, 7, whatever, if you really want to do that, because the mechanic of it stays the same, you know, doesn't matter how good the katana actually is, you'll always be able to negate damage. It just might take you a lot longer to kill some things, and I've tried, sometimes it can be a really long time. But anyway, katanas I'm going to recommend that you go for. Muramasa is great. It is one of the few new katanas that does not require a scale or, you know, like a boss weapon or a boss drop. Besides this one, one of the good ones. Doesn't require a scale or anything to make it. It does reduce your defense by the most out of all of the katanas. But it is the easiest, in my opinion, to make, and it has pretty good resources you can use. Logs, I would always recommend going Fire Demon, I think it is. And then the bargain armor parts, you can get some pretty cool stuff like fast talking, which will reduce your skill cooldowns by 10%. Oh, and then after that, the Joraguma, that one does poison, and then the Susanoo, which does electric damage, also has a really high base attack damage and can stun your enemies with electricity. Great. Some wouldn't really pay too much attention to these. You're definitely gonna want to pick up some patched light crosses, because these are going to build into what is probably the best attack accessory that we have available to us right now. And you can get some really good enchantments out of these. So pick you up some of those. The iron whetstone I would definitely suggest for your ammo slot there. Provides weapon polishing, which is useful to this build, not so much as it would be to like a one-shot build, but it definitely has its place, and I have something in the advanced guide about that. And then you're going to want to get the iron gauntlet. That's going to give you attack, defense, movement speed straight out of the box, and then you can make it using these materials right here, and you can get some pretty good stuff off that. So I recommend to you guys there. And then as for skills, dodge, I'd pretty much always say combat literally does not matter in tier 1 here. I would recommend not weapon polishing, because obviously you're going to get that from the auxiliary piece. Archer is good if you want to carry a bow for secondary, but other than that, nothing matters. You don't use a shield. Charge strike does not work with a katana, neither does rotating strike. Ironclad is not applicable, and triple slash does not work as well. The only one that I was thinking about was martial arts, because when you jump in midair and you attack, you kick. So if that scales off your melee or your bare hands damage, that might be the only one that's applicable. Here you're going to want to pick up two-handed. I don't even really go that deep into it. It's literally just to get the first ability to actually hold a katana, and then I put 2 points in because one only gives you 0 and the second one gives you 10% bonus, and you get diminishing returns after that. pick up Battle Hymn, come down here, grab all the samurai stuff. So this one is strictly for katanas. Unstoppable scales really well because this gives you more melee damage until you receive damage. If you do the stance dance correctly and you keep detect up, you won't take any damage. So this is essentially a buff that you could have up all the time. Next tree, you're going to want to go pick up the 2 katana skills again. These are passives. These are for crit chance and critical damage. Backstab is nice to have, but this is extra. And then so is lightning speed, to be honest. You really want to get your way down to EI slash. That is your main, that's your only damage ability, really, besides lightning speed. Everything else, because you're going strictly off just your attack speed, the attacks off the katana, and swordplay and single thrust, mostly swordplay, let's be honest. And then in magic, absolutely give you a tip here, you want to get heal. This might as well be the first thing you unlock ever. Level 2 heal. It's so good to have everywhere. And then the reason you go into 3 is so that you can come down into this tree and pick up magic grasps. Every melee attack grants you the buff that increases damage of the magic attack skills. When you cast a magic attack skill, the buff will be gone. This part really is irrelevant. The reason we pick this up, we only need it for 1 point, is so that every time we make an attack, a melee attack, we get a buff. And if you go into the trick tree, restore life when a buff is applied, this will give you 10 life per buff. It also kind of applies with Unstoppable here as well, but I don't know if it's intended to do this or if it's intended not to do this, but this only gives me around 2 to 4 points when this buff is applied. However, every single time Magic Grasps is applied, I get the full 10 health. So if the perfect instance would be you take some damage and then you activate one of your invulnerability moves, heal, soak up all that health, get all that back. Like, look, I hit anything, I hit the ground, I just healed like 20 points off of that. And that is so much better than coming down into life stealing. You'd have to spend a lot of points to get down here, and it only works off of a percentage chance. And for at the best, about half of what Lean Force will give you. So, my tip there, absolutely do that with pretty much everything. Alrighty, so that's it for this guide here. This is the intro guide, the beginner's guide here. If you want a more advanced, more in-depth look at some of the things that you can do with the katana, such as some really neat animation canceling and ways to really utilize the more advanced mechanics, let me know. Otherwise, feel free to leave any comments or questions, anything down on the bottom there, and see you next time.